What are we watching today? I guess I should say before we get into anything that I have just got back from the Galapagos. I'm still a little sunburnt, if you can see it. The skin's peeling off a little, and I had a great time. That's not what this is about, though. Today we are watching how much life is dependent on its environment. So we got rid of all the Galapagos stuff, and I think we're going to go back to the basics, and we're going to learn some very core foundational knowledge right now, all right? How much is life dependent on its environment? I feel like we should have learned this before going to the Galapagos, but you know what? You don't always get to pick these sorts of things. So, how much is life dependent on its environment? By the Minneapolis Public School. Interesting. That's not a very typical production company. So let's see. Publication date 1960. Grade 7 science. Interesting. So we just watched something about grade 8. Now we're watching something about grade 7, which is interesting because I might have said this, but my girlfriend is a 7th grade teacher. So I hopefully have like a little bit of an insight into the world of 7th grade. I guess I don't know about 7th grade in 1960, but this should be interesting. So how much is life dependent on its environment? Now that we're done with the Galapagos, we can start answering the big questions. Let's go. Yeah, Minneapolis Public Schools. That's so funny. Like, they just made a whole program on this. That's so interesting. Did other public schools do this, or is this like a really special public school kind of thing? I don't know. I guess we know who was supposed to be watching this, though, at the very least. Dude, I love how this isn't like centered or anything too. Like this, did they get a 7th grader to make the graphics on this too? It's just, I don't know. I feel like there's a better way to have organized these letters so that you can see them better. I don't know. 7th grade science class. All right, we're entering 7th grade science class again. I hope you're all ready to go back. How much is life dependent on its environment? I feel like I should say before we get started that I went to college for environmental science, so I have a good feeling I know the answer to all this, but so I'm gonna try to keep my mouth shut and just let this teach me what it can. But the short answer is a whole lot, or pretty much entirely dependent on its environment. Like, you can't have life without the environment, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, the answer is entirely dependent. Sorry to spoil it for you guys, but life needs the environment. What a fun little thing to fade in on, a little lizard on somebody's hand. This is funny.
All right.
Just a couple seconds of just like quiet static with no one talking or anything. Again, old-timey editing styles.
Why don't you go and try this environment for a while?
Try this environment for a while as he puts them in like a glass jar with nothing in it. Like that's not quite the environment.
How would you like to go?
Oh man, we got another science presenter. Okay, all right, this is interesting now. And he's got the biggest forehead of all time, so he should be a good presenter.
Looking for an environment. Fine, you say, but...
This guy looks like Charlie Kirk. I know I should stop saying stuff like that, but it's funny. These people always look like other people.
Where should I start looking? All right. Why don't you go and try this environment for a while? How would you like to go looking for an environment?
How would you like to go looking for an environment? It's a weird question. I don't even know what that means. I mean, honestly, that sounds like a blast, though. That's all I want to do, actually. I want to go exploring and find new environments. Sign me up. I'm already sold.
You say, but...
I guess, I should have, that's obvious considering what my educational background is in, but it's just like, yeah, I'm down for it. Here we go.
Fine, you say, but where should I start looking?
Where should I start looking? Please tell me.
Well, you won't have to look very far, because one is around you right now.
Dang, I was actually gonna say that as like your microbiome. You also have an environment on your skin. Like everything's the environment. That's that's what they're gonna get to though. That's what, I already know the answers, I guess. Let's hear how he has to say it.
Now remember our definition of science. We said
So is this a real Minneapolis public school teacher? That's what I'm curious about, right? If this was made by the public school system, then I hope this guy is actually just like an actual 7th grade science teacher. I really hope that's the case because it seems like he's not actually trained in like communications like this. Like he's very soft spoken. He kind of seems nervous. Like he's definitely not just a TV presenter. Like he feels like he is actually just a science teacher.
that science was the study of things and forces around us.
Yeah, he's not the best at this, but you know what? I like it. I like that he's not the best. You know what? We've all been there, my guy. We've all been in front of a camera thinking, "Oh man, I'm not doing a good job."
Is these very things and forces around us, or your surroundings.
Checks it down to read the script one more time. You totally just could see him look down and read the script again.
I think I could describe your surroundings around you today.
See, they were so dead set on having like these oneers, like uncut intros where the guy just says like a paragraph's worth of information off the top of his dome. And like, if you've ever given a presentation, you'd know that that's impossible, especially with the camera pointed at you. So I don't blame him for having a script and checking it, but it's just like, they could have just had a cut, you know? I guess, I don't know. I guess it's difficult because I also don't know how hard it was to operate the cameras. It's funny. It's funny how the tools they were using affected the form of presentation that they were given.
There would be desks in the room you're in, books, a TV set in the room.
It's just so slow. It's like, oh my God, I don't like interrupting him, but it's just like, just get it out. Just say things already.
And there would also be a certain amount of heat in the room, which would make it comfortable. All these things are part of your environment now. But other living things...
Yeah, this guy is nervous. You can just hear it in his breath.
...have things which we call factors in their environment also. Things such as soil conditions.
Soil conditions, very strong foot to start on for the environment. Soil conditions almost determine everything else. So yeah, we're doing good. That's the funny thing, is like no matter how old this stuff is, the information in it is always fantastic.
Heat, cold again. The climate.
Heat and cold, that is pretty much the climate, yeah.
All of these things would be part of their environment. Now, I think that you could say that one of the more important factors...
By the way, if you guys see me itching my body all over, I'm not tweaking out. I told you I have a sunburn, and it is like my whole body is itchy right now. I went to the Galapagos, I got crazy burn, and now I'm itching all over the place. I feel like I need to address that.
In an environment would be food, wouldn't it? Mother may send you to the grocery store. And going to the grocery store, she may say, get this list of groceries so we can have dinner tonight. And she'd fix them for dinner. But animals living in the wild can't go to a restaurant or a grocery store. Instead,
I like how this guy just made himself laugh thinking of an animal going to the grocery store. Like, I don't know, it's just, you can tell that he's actually laughing now. Like, they didn't have in the script pretend to laugh, you know? Like, he just started laughing.
Restaurant or a grocery store. Instead, they have to find their food in the area in which they are.
Dude, see, they did cut. Oh, and they had another focus issue. That's so funny. See, this is like amateur video production, and that's what's so interesting. I guess because it's made by a public school system, they didn't have like professional video editors or cameramen or whatever. So you are getting like some even more interesting little problems or errors in the media production aspect of this all, which is so fascinating. You know, I'm so here for it. I love dissecting these things and figuring out, again, we're losing focus on this guy for some reason. Like whoever is just behind the camera keeps, turning the freaking lens back and forth for some reason, and we keep losing focus on it.
Originally, we thought of.
Like we're watching the cameraman actively trying to find focus while they're filming the program, Like usually you would say, cut, stop, like let me find focus, then we'll go again. But no, he's just like live wrecking focus on this guy.
In terms of a green plant. I have a green plant here. Suppose we talk about it in terms of what it does for.
What a funny little plant pot and thing, you know, like a little plant pot holder. This is just very 60s, very retro style right here, too. This is like interior design from the 60s for sure.
Food. This green
Like you get a nice terracotta pot and you put it in this like shiny aluminum and plastic pot holder. It's just, I don't know. This is very funny.
plant does these things. It takes the energy of the sun and with minerals from the soil, water, and carbon dioxide, uses the energy of the sun to put them together to form food and also living material.
This guy's presentation, I don't mean to keep commenting on it, but it is like, it's a little tough to watch, I'll be honest.
But suppose I use a diagram to explain what I mean.
Dang, does he say photosynthesis or not? Does he actually get it out of his mouth? I don't know. It seemed like he was building up to the word photosynthesis, and then it just did not get there. So, I don't know. I in my head, I was anticipating him saying photosynthesis.
I have over here a circle, which we will let represent
Oh, geez, yeah, the film just ripped a bit of...
green plants. There are certain animals,
And the focus keeps going out. Whoever the cameraman was, I would be pissed at the cameraman, to be honest.
which eat these green plants,
Dude, right? This focus totally lost focus there.
and they would be called plant eaters.
I also love just how simplistic this is. Plant eaters, like not even herbivores. We're not even getting into the like jargon yet. We're just saying like plant eaters eat plants.
There are other animals
This isn't even Invi 101. This is like Invi 1, you know? Like we're really just learning the basics. Like some things eat plants.
however, which do not eat
Oh my god, this cameraman cannot find focus.
green plants necessarily, but instead live on the flesh of other animals. And so we could call these animals flesh-eating animals.
Flesh-eating animals, that's like a horrible word to call them, I guess. It's just like, has a weird connotation to it, I guess. But how are we organizing these terms? Because they're just all in bubbles that are overlapping each other, like flesh eaters. Do flesh eaters eat plant eaters and then plant eaters eat plants? Is that the whole order that we're going in or something? I don't know. It seems weird to include flesh eaters on top of plant eaters. I don't know.
Or flesh eaters.
Flesh eaters, like, I'm glad we don't call them that anymore.
But some animals, you say, eat both green plants and flesh. And so we will let that be represented by...
See, yeah, this is getting a little confusing just because it's like literally all the same terms. Like there's green plants, plant eaters, flesh eaters, plant and flesh eaters. Like, I don't know, this is a little confusing. Obviously, I'm not confused quite yet. I know what an herbivore, carnivore, omnivore is, but just using these terms honestly is more confusing than using random words like
plant
that.
and flesh-eating animals.
And what's the organization here? Again, what's the diagram? Like plant and flesh eaters are eating flesh eaters and eating plant eaters and eating plants? I don't know. What a weird way to put all these together in one way.
Now let's review quickly what we've said.
We're already reviewing? Okay.
Green plants are eaten by plant eaters and flesh eaters. Plant eaters would eat only green plants. And I wonder if someone could tell me which animals flesh eaters would eat.
This guy, I feel so bad for him. He's really trying his hardest. That's how I think he's a teacher, because like there's no audience, right? Like he's asking the people watching to answer this question, and he's asking that because he knows that this is going to be shown to his classroom of kids, and he wants somebody to ask the kids questions to have them answer it. It's just like you can tell he's a teacher. It's funny. It's funny that he's doing a good job as a teacher, but he's doing a bad job maybe as a presenter.
Well, they would certainly eat plant eaters, and they would also eat these plant and flesh-eating animals, wouldn't they? Perhaps I can show you a better demonstration of this by using some specific plants and animals.
I'm glad we had to watch him take all these things off the board. Again, like, you would just edit that out. You would cut it and you would just, resume when you had everything in place. But no, in this old-fashioned style of editing, you just watch them put it all up and you watch them take it all down. This is like an uncut filming too. Like, I know there are cuts, but I'm pretty sure he did this all in one go.
Let's begin with our story with a common farm plant. I'm sure all of you have heard of this one.
Corn? Are we talking about corn? What are we talking
Let's
about?
let this represent a corn
Corn. How did I know? How did I know it was going to be corn?
plant. And the corn plant, in turn, may be eaten by an unwelcome guest of the farmer.
An unwelcome guest. It's going to be like a bird or something, or a rabbit.
A grasshopper.
Oh, a grasshopper. Okay. That's fair.
The grasshopper, in turn, may be eaten by a frog. The frog may be...
See, I can't tell if, like, the shot that we're getting is, like, cut because it's such an archival film that, like, we just don't get the edges, or if this is the original framing of this shot, because... whatever the cameraman is doing, he was not getting centered shots, that's for sure.
become food for a snake. And the snake may become food for a hawk. Now, I think that you realize that we could go on and on with our story and have the hawk eaten by a bigger animal, and a bigger animal eating the bigger animal that ate the hawk.
You know what? I disagree, though, because I don't know if any animal would eat a hawk. I mean, like, maybe a large animal like a wolf, but, nothing is purposefully hunting a hawk. Maybe things are finding dead hawks and they're eating them, but I think this is the best opportunity to say nothing hunts a hawk except decomposers, because that's how it actually goes full circle. That's the environmental lesson here, is that the biggest things still just get eaten by the smallest of things.
Ate the hawk, but suppose we stop here and think about the hawk getting a disease. And perhaps
is that what he's doing? The hawk is getting a disease and it'll be decomposed?
The hawk would die from the disease. Now, what is it that causes disease? Well, bacteria is one thing which can cause disease. And
I like how they don't have a picture for bacteria. I don't know. I know they must have had microscopes back then. Yeah, this is only what, the 60s? They definitely knew what bacteria looked like back then. But I guess it wasn't like a readable image. Like, you can't just show a person a blob and have them understand that it's bacteria.
These bacteria serve another purpose. Besides causing disease,
decomposition.
They also take the dead bodies of animals and return the materials that were in these bodies to the soil.
There you go, the soil. Once again, we're talking about the soil. See, the information in here is just still so good. It's just, it's a little dry.
And to the air. Now let's
the air? I guess that's fair. I guess in decomposition you release like carbon dioxide. So yeah, that's fair. I'll give him the pass for that one. Actually, I didn't think about that one. That's on me, actually.
Let's review quickly, if we can, just exactly what has happened here. We have taken from the air and soil minerals, water, and carbon dioxide, and put the two of them together with the energy of the sun to make living materials, haven't we? The energy which was stored in this corn plant, the sun's energy really
just spends a few seconds thinking about what he's saying before continuing. Again, like, I don't know, just the old-fashioned style. I love it. I wish I could do this. I wish this could be my job. Actually, I guess it kind of is.
Really stored in the corn plant would go to the grasshopper when he ate the corn.
Like, there's nothing stopping me from getting a chalkboard and doing this same exact thing, actually.
And the frog, incidentally...
The frog on the log?
Would get a hold of...
Isn't that a whole song? The frog on the log, the bong, the bong.
of some of this energy when he ate the grasshopper. The snake would get the energy when he ate the frog. Would go to the hawk.
Dude, this guy's arrows are kind of weak, though. Like, you could have drawn these arrows better. No offense.
And the hawk, when it died, the energy would go to the bacteria, and the materials would go back to the air and the soil.
That is really just beautiful. It's so simple and like obviously I knew all this already, but like just seeing it explained in such a simple way for like 7th grade kids, like this is all you need for a 7th grade kid to understand, you know? Like you don't this it's not any more complicated than this.
But I think that you should realize that this cycle, which we've drawn here, it's a complete cycle, may also be shortened. For instance, the corn plant may die, and in that case, bacteria will work on it to tear it down, to return it to the air and soil from where it came. And likewise, the grasshopper could die, and its body be consumed by the bacteria. And the frog could die, and its body be returned by bacteria. Likewise, the snake. I think you can see that the cycle may be large or small, depending upon the area. I'd like to ask a question. Have any of you ever heard of the dynamics of nature?
Have any of you ever heard of the dynamics of nature? I can't really, I mean, not specifically that phrase. I don't know. I mean, I actually don't know what he's getting at, so let's hear.
Sounds kind of difficult, doesn't it?
That does sound kind of difficult. You're right.
Really, it's something that has a pretty big sounding name to it for something which is real simple.
The dynamics of nature. Is he just talking about like cycles? I feel like, you know, like how cycles continuously. I don't know. I let's just listen.
Perhaps I can show you an example, and then later.
I want to guess what he's talking about before he actually specifies. But the dynamics of nature. Like what a general. Like I don't know what he's talking about.
I think that you'll know what I mean and be able to define it yourself. Recently, in an area in northeastern Minnesota, in St. Louis County, there was a number of skunks living in the area. In the same area, there was a number of turtles.
Yeah, I don't know where we're going with this.
Or let's let these number of turtles be represented by this one turtle we have here. And there was a large number of ducks. Now, the people in the area decided that they wanted to get rid of the skunks for a number of reasons. Number one, they thought of the skunks as being not too welcome friends because of the odor that they could give off. And also,
see, this is funny. So this is like an insight into like the mentality of people from the 60s that like they would just say, let's get rid of all of the skunks because they smell bad. You know, like that is very much an old-timey way of thinking about the world. Which again, you know, you have to learn about when you learn about the environment is how people engage with it. And like that's a sad reality of the environment is that there are many skunks that don't exist anymore because we just did not like the smell.
There's a possibility that they could carry disease to the animals in the area.
I really don't think anyone was killing the skunks for that specific reason. The sad part is that's a better reason, I guess, than doing it just because they smell bad. But that feels like a justification that you find after the fact.
And so a trapping campaign was put on against these animals, and slowly the skunks began to disappear.
Jeez, yeah, how casually you can just say, yeah, slowly the skunks just disappear. They just go extinct in the area.
Now, one of the very favorite foods of the skunk was turtle eggs during the summer.
Oh, but I like where this is going. So we're going to understand like the trophic cascade that takes place once you remove the skunk or the interconnected web of the environment, how it affects everything else. This is actually what I like learning about the most, is how everything is interconnected.
More of these eggs hatched out, and the turtles became more numerous. And one of the very favorite foods of turtles, incidentally, was baby ducklings.
Baby ducklings, really? Is that true, or is that just part of this story? Like, do turtles eat baby ducklings? I would not have thought so.
And for the bigger turtles, even the larger ducks.
Geez, really? No, turtles don't eat ducks, right? No, that can't be true. Maybe I just don't know enough. Here I am, the environmental scientist, not knowing if turtles eat ducks or not.
And so the little ducklings, and even some of the larger ducks, begin to disappear.
I want to see a turtle eat a duck before I go any further.
This, I think, illustrates the dynamics of
How would, like, a duck can fly? A duck can move so fast. I have no idea how a turtle would catch a duck.
nature. The fact man
And kill a duck, too? Like, how is a turtle going to kill a duck?
can upset this dynamics, often without realizing it.
I hope this talk doesn't get me demonetized. Just sometimes I don't know, I'm using bad words, I guess, but it's in a fine context.
There is another facet besides this dynamics of nature, which I think you two should know about. And this involves the competition of animals for food. Suppose I show it by this diagram that I have made. In this diagram, you can see your screen a small figure at the bottom, which will represent microscopic life.
Okay, so this is just like the food pyramid or like the ecological pyramid. Interesting. So yeah, this is the trophic levels of the environment. So you get like I guess the producers, and then you get all the, I guess these are autotrophs? Is that what you would call it? I know I have a degree in this, so I shouldn't be asking you guys, but yeah, I think this is, I would just call these the producers, the autotrophs, whatever you want to call it, and then the heterotrophs, or the consumers up top.
Life in a pond. This will represent perhaps millions and billions of tiny little microscopic animals. Now these microscopic animals, we will say, are much larger in number. And as we go up to form a complete pyramid, we're going to find that they're going to increase. And so we find...
Oh, okay, so now we're talking about like ocean animals, right? So this is like sort of plankton, and then this is, I guess, other sorts of plankton. These are like little shrimps or whatever. I was expecting to see something else here, but this makes sense too. This is just a marine food pyramid. By the looks of it, I could be wrong.
The number of fairy shrimp, which could eat the microscopic animals, would be less, wouldn't it?
Also, I like how steep this pyramid is. It doesn't have a wide base. It's just very narrow. It's like a Nubian pyramid.
The fairy shrimp eats the microscopic animals, and they are fewer in number than the microscopic animals below it. The fairy shrimp may be food for some very small fish. Again, you'll notice that...
Dude, this is so funny. I made a whole video on the biogeography of oceans and how the ocean food pyramid determines like what grows where in this. And it's so, and, some things never change. The ocean has stayed the same ever since. It's like, yeah, you have, microplankton, macroplankton, and then fish. Yeah. And then you'll have like a shark or whatever on top, an octopus, or maybe a fisherman even, who knows.
The area is smaller, and that these
but are we going to get all the way to the top of this pyramid? It looks like this is the last step.
Small fish would be fewer in number than the fairy shrimp below it. And these small fish, which could be hundreds in number, could perhaps be food for just one fish at the top. One large game fish.
This is so funny. I've made this exact graphic before. That's what I love about watching some of this stuff, is that it is just almost identical to the stuff I've already made for my other job. That, like, I don't know, it's so fun seeing how other people have done the same exact thing as me.
Now this large game fish...
Dude, the camera though, can they find the focus already? Holy crap, why do they even keep touching it? Like, they have focus, but then it keeps moving. I don't get it. The camera guy was just playing with a new lens or something.
Is the kind of fish which we like to catch, isn't it?
It almost looks like there's like water in front of the camera or something. I don't know. Like, it's entering and exiting focus in such a weird way.
What would happen if in the area we wanted to plant many, many, many of these big game fish? I think that you can understand what would happen. First of all of the food in the area would be eaten up very quickly, wouldn't it? Because there would not be enough
Dude, these freaking cuts and the focus pulling, oh my gosh. This really is made by the Minnesota's public school.
For these small fish, for these larger fish in the area.
Oh, he mentioned Minnesota earlier, and I was like, that's such a random state for him to be mentioning. But I just connected that this is from Minneapolis, so it makes sense that he was talking about Minnesota. Okay. If anyone else caught that, now you understand why too.
So we find that competition would certainly be important because...
Bro, like, what is this focus? Like, do you guys now understand what I'm talking about? Like, why? Like, it was already in focus. Just don't touch the lens and it'll be in focus. Oh my gosh.
We have to have enough food for the life.
But it's weird. It like keeps coming and going. It really looks like water is passing in front of the lens or something. I don't get it. I don't get what's happening here.
That we want to raise in the area. Now, we've talked so far simply about food. I wonder...
Yeah, I like how the cameraman just did a little bit of an adjustment too. Like, he wasn't perfectly centered, so you just saw him move it just a little. That's so funny.
If we could talk about something special about our environment, which would involve adaptations to environment.
Oh, adaptations. Now we're getting into the fun part. This is the Galapagos part for sure.
Adaptation.
There is no Galapagos part, but this is why I should have watched it before Galapagos, is to understand the adaptation.
Now, adaptation, that could sound like a big word to some of you, but what we mean by adaptations is that the animal is able to live better in its environment with this adaptation. Something which...
Again, he just checked his script again.
enables an animal to
you can tell he's just looking down now, like every second.
Enables an animal to live better. There are two kinds of adaptations. One, the animal is able...
Hang on. Two kinds of adaptations. What are the two kinds of adaptations he's about to say? I know it makes me look so dumb that I can't even come up with two adaptations, but it's like, what specific adaptations are we talking about? You know, like there's more than just two, if you ask me. It's just like I'm trying to boil every form of adaptation into two, and I just can't figure it out.
To adapt quite readily, and the other is the kind that they're born with. Both of them they're born with.
Huh, interesting. So he's talking about like behavioral adaptations and like truly evolutionary adaptations, or like there's something called phenotypic plasticity where you can actually use only the genes you have to still adapt to an environment. But I don't know if this guy's talking about phenotypic plasticity right now. But, you know, either way, interesting.
But one, the animal can change, and the other, the animal cannot.
You know what? He is talking about phenotypic plasticity. He might not know he's talking about it.
Most of them are of the kind...
Like, an example of phenotypic plasticity is like how the size of your pupil changes based on how much light you're receiving. You know, like if our pupils were a set size, we wouldn't be able to look at some things without being, you know, blasted by light. But because our pupils can change size, we can, you know, account for all sorts of different lighting situations. It's just like a physical aspect of our body is changing. Phenotypic plasticity, the size of our pupils is changing to adapt to the environment. That's one. Okay, I'll give them that. That's an in-person adaptation rather than a prior to birth adaptation, I guess.
The animal can't change. They're simply born with it. I have over here two little fellows. I wonder if anybody can tell me just exactly what these are. They're chameleons.
They're chameleons? I was not going to say chameleons. These look like lizards to me. These could be chameleons, but I swear these are just lizards. Right? Like, these are not... I've made a whole video about chameleons, and these do not look like chameleons. Chameleons have, like, the big eyes and the heads and whatever. Oh, but I get it. I get where he's going with this. So he's going to show us the chameleons adapting to their environment by changing color or whatever, which is not going to be so fun to watch on a black and white program, but I think that's the case that he's making.
Got them in this special...
Are these really chameleons? These look like lizards.
...environment. You saw me put one in at the beginning of the period.
I swear these are not chameleons.
I put them in this special environment.
Well, listen, I'm an environmentalist, not a biologist, so I might be getting it wrong, but these do not look like chameleons to me.
For this reason. One of them I have on very dark paper. The other one I have on lighter paper. And these...
See, I get the camera adjusting its focus to look at these, but not earlier.
Tiny little chameleons are able to change their color suppose I take one out and put them together, and perhaps you can see some difference in color. The one at the top of your screen then, whoops, they fell down together. Maybe I should...
See, this is just, it's so unrehearsed, you know? That's what I love about this, is that it really is just whatever happens on camera gets included, and I'm here for it.
Boost them up again.
I feel like I couldn't even do this on YouTube without getting yelled at for, like, abusing these animals, too. Oh, obviously he's not. He's just, like, playing with them. But, like, I don't know. This is risky to do nowadays.
He wants to hang on to me here.
Yeah, I love how we're just watching, like, a blank screen of not even this guy's hand or anything. Just him. We're just listening to him struggle with these chameleons, I guess.
Oops.
Like, he's just like, you can picture him off screen just dealing with it, but it's like you can't see any of it.
Whoops, I guess we can't get them up. The one, incidentally, at the top.
See, this, again, like, you would just cut and you would just wait until you could get it perfectly, and then you would show that for this part. But for this, like, live, you know, chronological presentation, they just can't do it. Like, they just have to power through it, which is so funny.
Is a brown. And
that's how you know this is all just like a continuous shot, though, is they're not even like, they can't account for this lizard not staying where it is. Or the chameleon, whatever. I think it's a lizard, but whatever.
One at the bottom is green.
I think chameleons are lizards anyway, so it doesn't matter, but I just don't think that these are chameleons. I'm gonna look so dumb for saying that, but I don't know. Somebody tell me what type of chameleons these are, please.
But I said that most animals do not have the ability to change their conditions as these chameleons did. And instead...
I like how we just skipped over that example because you couldn't get them to behave. You know, like, oh, like, we're gonna see how they change colors or whatever, but they're not staying on the paper, so so we're just moving on. Like, again, like, this was supposed to be shown in a classroom, you know? Like, that was an example the kids were supposed to see so that they would understand. But instead, they're just like, nope, next thing.
They are born with the adaptations which they have. I'm going to show you one which also is an adaptation to color, which these animals...
Oh great, another adaptation to color. That'll be a lot of fun to watch in this black and white program.
Really can't change. I have a fish here.
I swear if it's a blue egg. I have this blue egg.
Which, if I hold it against the dark background...
Bro, we're not even seeing it. Just show it to us. Oh, there we go. Okay.
That the top part of this fish is dark in color, while the bottom of the fish is light.
I really just don't know if we needed a dead fish for this example. I feel like a cartoon would have been just fine.
Now, if we look down...
Right, like, again, this is something that, like, is kind of questionable to show on YouTube. It's just a guy playing with a dead animal. Please don't demonetize this. Please, I would be so pissed if this got demonetized. Like, this is harmless. This fish would have been dead, like, 70 years, no matter what happened. This fish has long been dead.
From above into the river or the lake in which he may be, we would find this fish would resemble very greatly the background on which he's swimming. However, if we placed him in it and looked at on a light surface, you'd find that the bottom part resembles this light surface.
Again, his hand is just covering like half of the fish's head and stuff. It's just like, this is very clearly like not rehearsed or practiced at all. And you know, I'm glad that it's funny. It's just funny to see them like figuring it out as they go.
And this would look somewhat like the particular background that you would see looking from underneath him towards the sky. I have some other pictures that I would like you to see of these special adaptations that animals may have for protection. This deer that you see in this picture.
Okay, so now they are just showing us pictures. See, that's funny because the lizards didn't behave, that fish didn't do that good of a job of illustrating, so now we're just looking at straight up pictures.
Pictures is a special adaptation of speed.
See, I wanted to guess what the adaptation they were going to talk about is, but like, yeah, they just said it. It's speed, I guess. Like, I guess that's an adaptation. I mean, it is, but it's just like, I don't know. That's not the same as like the color of your scales or anything.
Able to run away from his enemies.
Like the adaptation of speed came along like hundreds of millions of years ago. Like the deer is not the first adaptation of speed ever.
Very readily. This animal also has
Just a similar photo of a similar instance, like, okay, the deer is fast. What else do we have? Oh, the rabbit's fast as well. Okay, cool.
a special adaptation of speed.
Like, I feel like a school kid could be fooled into thinking that they're just talking about speed.
The rabbit is fast over short distances, and this particular rabbit has another adaptation of color. He is able
Oh, great, another color adaptation. Fantastic.
to change his color somewhat from the winter to the summer. During the summer he's brown, and this snowshoe rabbit during the winter.
I have heard about them doing that, though. That is a very common rabbit adaptation, is to change from brown to white based on the season. And more than just rabbits, like foxes and stuff do that too, I think.
Is a lighter shade. This animal has a special adaptation
Oh, is this a wolverine?
of odor.
Oh, no, it's a skunk. It's just a skunk. I thought it was a wolverine for a second.
An animal ever comes around him, he could the
The freaking narration, though. Like, this guy's losing it a little. Poor guy.
animal in this question, the skunk, could get rid of a little odor.
Like, we're just listening to him figuring out his words, which I guess is fine. That's what you guys are doing to me right now. But it's just like so much work went into this, whereas not that much work went into this. Like there's all this, there's cameramen, there's, lighting people, there's directors, there's all sorts of stuff. And this guy's just flubbing his lines.
That would chase the animal away. And so most of the animals in the wild stay away from the skunk because they don't care for this odor. Here is one which I'm sure.
But again, all we're doing is looking at pictures. We're not watching video of them do this sort of stuff. It's just a picture of a crayfish or whatever we're looking at. Like I don't know. I don't know if this is that effective at teaching kids. I mean, I bet this was a blast to watch back in the 60s. Like, oh man, the first day you get to watch like a TV program or whatever in class. This was probably still a lot of fun for a kid to watch. But oh man, I bet there's better ways of doing it now.
Is a special adaptation that you didn't think about. This is a crayfish. And it uses these pincers for protection, and it also has a hard shell which it uses to protect itself on the outside.
This is just like such random adaptations that he's calling out. Like you could say that the crayfish has eyes and it can see, or it has legs so it can walk. Like all of those are adaptations. It's just so random which ones he's choosing to pick up on.
This turtle is able to protect itself because of its shell. When an enemy comes near, pulls in its legs and its head and tail.
The camera, oh my god, they're zooming in and out too a little, and then like focus racking. Oh my gosh, like what an active cameraman. I want to know who is responsible for all this.
Goes inside of its shell. Should we go back and review for a moment?
Go back and review. My god, this was so simple.
First of all, we defined environment. We said that environment was the study of
this guy, why does it feel like this guy already forgot what he said?
Surroundings. And then we went on to say that food was a very important part of that environment. And
yeah, so far I'm following along, but I don't know if we need a recap just yet.
We showed
we're not even 20 minutes in and we're already getting like our third
showed
recap.
That competition was important for the gathering of food. And then we've gone on to show you some special adaptations which animals have for protection.
Again, just like another long pause as he's figuring out what to say. I don't know. It's just, this is so funny.
Protective coloration, speed, protective covering in the case of the crayfish and the turtle.
Didn't he already say that one? I feel like he already hit on that.
All of these things are special adaptations. You may be interested in doing some special work on some special adaptations, such as food gathering that animals may have, and also on some adaptations that the
It's so funny that he just said you may be interested in doing extra work on food gathering, because from a certain perspective, that actually is what I do for work. I do talk about the evolution of animals, and like island gigantism, for example, is pretty much just analyzing how animals gather food and like how that has affected their evolution over time. Like that pretty much is my job.
the animal may have to climb it. Or there may be others that you may be interested in. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions and let you answer them.
Oh, finally, we're gonna get a test. All right, I said that, didn't I? Didn't I say that in the last video? That I didn't know if we were gonna get a test then, but I think we're gonna get a test now. Everyone, break out your notebooks, break out your pencils. We're getting tested.
Take them down, will you? In this case, what special adaptations would be necessary to live in these environments?
What special adaptations would be necessary to live in these environments? All right, let's go.
I'll explain them to you, but I think the slides will show what I mean.
Oh, okay. In a cold, chilly environment, what are some special adaptations? All right, so how about like a bunch of fat or a bunch of fur or feathers? So something to keep you warm, and the ability to not eat for a very long period of time. I feel like that's what he's going to say. He's going to say like, storing fat or, building up thick fur and hibernating. I feel like that's what we're going for with this one.
This is an Arctic-like environment.
An Arctic-like environment. It's just houses with a little snow on them. I wouldn't call this Arctic quite yet. There's a whole forest here, but all right. It's cold, it's snowy. What's the proper adaptations for the Arctic?
Or the cold, snow.
Oh, and evolving white fur in the winter. We already mentioned that, but yeah, that's probably another thing.
What special adaptations would an animal have to live in this environment?
Dude, I love how he didn't answer. We just got to look at that frame in silence for like a couple seconds. That's great. So I guess we're not going to get any answers. This is just up for us. All right. I'm not going to give you guys the answers either then. You guys got to put them in your own notebooks.
This is a desert environment.
A desert environment? Okay. So no, I actually am going to give you guys the answers. What are some adaptations for the desert environment? So some sort of skin that doesn't lose moisture, like scales, that's a good adaptation. For plants, it's, not a lot of leaves that give moisture. Like these cacti, the whole reason they do well is because they don't hemorrhage moisture out into the air so frequently. What else? What else is a good desert adaptation? I guess you have to be able to take the heat, so maybe not fur or tons of fat. So no, I would say fur because the sun is still pretty bad, but not fat because you don't need to keep in heat. Again, I don't know if I'm going to be graded on this or anything, but I'm trying to give my thoughts.
Extremely cold nights.
Oh, extremely cold nights. I didn't think about that either.
Hot days. Very little water.
Very little water. See, I mentioned that a little.
What sort of adaptations would be necessary to live in this environment?
Dude, this guy's narration is just killing me. Okay, now we're in like a wetland environment, so no, I don't think I need to come up with adaptations for all of these. I guess it's no fun if I don't though, right?
This is a water environment.
Water environment. So these ducks, they have like hydrophobic feathers, right? Or they don't get soaking wet every time they go in the water, which would help them stay warm and stuff. So yeah, like some feathers that keep the water off of you. I don't know if I'm doing this from the perspective of animals or plants too. Because the plants need to adapt to the wetland especially. Like they need to be able to be in constant contact with water and be able to fight rot or mold. You always get a lot more decomposition with water present.
You have a pond.
And you also need to be able to get oxygen to your roots if you can't. I don't know.
Ducks flying over it. There would probably be fish in the pond. What special adaptations would you have to live in a water environment? This is a forest environment. You see a deer or a tree.
A forest environment. So I don't know. I feel like we already looked at a forest environment. I mean, that was a snowy forest environment, but like, I bet this forest also gets snowy. I'm not going to answer this one. It needs legs to walk, you know? That's what it needs.
What special adaptations would be necessary for an animal to live in this environment? And we have here a very special environment of a prairie environment.
A prairie environment. That's funny. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to come up with examples for all of these, but I guess the good adaptation, like the best answer for this one is you need multiple stomachs to be able to digest grass. That is the key evolutionary adaptation that needs to be made to conquer the prairies. That is why the buffalo are the prairie kings, because they can digest grass. That's the adaptation that we're looking for. That is a 100% on this test.
Very little shade. Grass. What special sort of adaptations be necessary?
A rumen? Is that the right word? They need a rumen? I don't know.
To live in this environment. I hope that today you have seen some of the special adaptations that animals must have to live in their environments.
It's like pulling teeth listening to this guy.
And you've also seen some of the special conditions which are necessary in an environment.
Checks his notes one last time for the outro.
I hope that today we have answered the question, how are animals dependent on their environment?
You know, I think we sort of did answer that. I actually don't know if we fully answered it, though. Again, animals are entirely reliant on their environment, so I don't know if we got there, but we definitely got somewhere. Science, grade 7. I love it. The classic patriotic trumpet march tune that just ends every single educational program ever playing. Oh, I love that too.
You have been viewing Science Grade 7, a telecourse presented by the Minneapolis Public Schools.
A telecourse presented by the Minneapolis Public Schools. Interesting.
Your teacher today has been Richard F. Rumpy.
Teacher Richard Rumpy. Okay, I'm so glad that they told us who this guy was.
Subject area consultant supervised the planning of each series,
Consultant Henry Schutz. Interesting.
which is authorized by the Advisory Committee on Educational Television.
Dude, the guy can't even pull focus on these letters. Like, they're so blurry. Oh my gosh.
Teams of
Get a
teachers
new cameraman. I need the credits to tell me who the cameraman is.
assist in the planning and evaluation.
Production team or producing team. Hubert, I guess. Hubert Allman, Charlotte Boner. Oh my gosh. Charlotte Boner, Frederick Engel, and Solvig. Why are they so German all of a sudden? Holy moly. I guess it's a different time.
Evaluating of the various lessons presented. Series are produced through the Radio Television Department.
Gladys O'Point, Richard Rumpf. Oh, so Richard Rumpf was the production guy too. Okay. Richard Rumpf was the teacher. Interesting. Is it Mr. Richard Rumpf? Is he an actual teacher? I think it feels this guy must have been an actual teacher and not like a TV personality based on his presentation. Richard Rumpf. I like that though.
Directed by Louis House.
Producer Clarissa Sunday. Clarissa, you have to hire a new camera operator. I'm sorry. Okay, and that's it. Wow. All right. I feel like we did learn something. If I had never learned anything about the environment, this would have introduced pretty much all the most basic concepts. Like this really feels like, yeah, like you have never learned about the environment before in your life ever. And I guess this is a pretty good introduction to it. I don't know if you could show this to kids nowadays and have them learn as much as a kid might have learned from this back in the day, which I guess is fair, but it did a good job of just building your very basic understanding of environmental systems. You know, that's the, you know, he didn't say systems at all, but like when he was drawing that diagram with all the bacteria and the corn and whatnot, like the point is that it's a system. The point is that like everything interacts with one another, and if you impact one aspect of the environment, you can have crazy impacts on all the others that are unforeseen. So I guess, yeah, this is environment 1. This is not environment 101. This is not environment, 2 even. This is environment 1. And I think for environment 1, I think we did a good job. I bet I could do a better job than this, to be honest. But this is good. This is good for the time that it was produced in. I think this would have been a blast for a kid in school to have watched rather than to have listened to their own teacher. I don't know. I don't know if kids would have liked this or not, actually. But I think this is good. I think this is a good foundation. Now that we understand how life depends on its environment, I think now we're ready to start learning more. I know we already learned about the Galapagos and stuff, but I think this is like, I really should have watched this like first thing when I started this channel. Like this should have been the very first green I ever watched, just so that it's our foundation going forward. But I guess all that's left to say is that if you enjoyed watching and would like to help support what I do here, you can go ahead and donate to the Internet Archive. The link is in the description, and just give them as much money as you feel like I earned. That's all. I don't need any money from you guys. Just donate to Internet Archive. They really deserve it, and they really make everything I do possible. So with that, I think I'm gonna turn off the camera. Cut to black.